Hi folks, John Cordisco back again. Another game from the Battle of the Legends. This is round 7. Played at the Chess Club and Scholastic Center in St. Louis. Two individuals that need no introduction in the chess world. As white, Garry Kasparov, former world champion, arguably the best player that ever lived. And as black, Nigel Short, former world championship challenger. Nigel had to beat out Anatoly Karpov to get to play Garry. So this is their blitz game. They played a series of games over 2 days, one rapid game, 4 blitz each day. This is from the second day, round 7. Let's get to it. Kasparov is white, Nigel Short is black. It's going to be a queen's fee and shuttle defense. Let's go for the first few moves here. There's no point. This isn't really about opening theory. Bishop b7, e4, knight g6. Right now, that light squared bishop on b7 doesn't have much of a future. Well, the white's pawn's there in the center, but we'll see how that works out. Bishop b3, bishop c5, bishop takes, pawn takes. Purposely leaving the double pawns there. I'm not a big fan of that, but d6. That's forcing the fact that those pawns won't be undoubled as long as that d6 pawn is there. Castles, queen d2. Queen a5, b3, just showing things up. Queen a3, which I thought was interesting. Computer likes bishop c8, believe it or not. Why? I don't know. Maybe to bring the rook around. I think the rook, that bishop is really going to have a problem. How's he going to get out? There's nowhere for him to go. That's the only drawback here. That d6 move sealed that. Queen to a3, knight to a4, trying to close in the queen. Actually, Nigel plays the computer move, rook f to b8. Queen to c1, queen to b4 check. Now queen to c3, trying to get black to trade. Knight can come back, and that knight's in a good spot. Queen takes c3 check as a computer's choice. Knight to f8, second choice, and they're both exactly the same score. Knight to f8. What he's trying to do is trying to get the knight up in here. If he had taken the queen after knight takes, knight f8, castle's long. A little less than a pawn advantage for white in that scenario. But after knight to f8, queen takes, pawn takes, c5. That was kind of Garry's point, I think. Yes, this pawn can come up, but this pawn here is so weak. And later in the endgame, you're looking at maybe sacrificing a piece for this pawn to advance. So there's a lot going on that you really don't see. Knight to e6, knight to f2. Computer likes g6, knight to d4. Rook d8. Knight just goes a5. A very human move. Reinforce the b pawn. Okay, so let's pause and look at this now. Alright, what to do. Black's knight on f6 doesn't really have many places to go. The knight on e6 has very good chances. White's knight can get out fairly easily through this scenario here. Come back. Hitting the pawn here. It shows about a pawn and a quarter advantage for white, and I agree. I think white's position is a lot better and it's a lot easier to play. Rook to c1. Knight to f4 instead of d4. Now the third choice in the computer is knight to d4, rook to e8, and bishop a6. Forcing the trade of bishops. And that's a really crappy bishop for black. So bishop to a6 I think would have been a really good move. I mean, what's white going to do? Can't stop the trade. Yeah, I could block the knight, I guess. But then when bishop takes, he gets rid of his crappy bishop anyway. So I think bishop a6 was the correct move. Knight f4 instead. Hits it with a pawn. Knight goes to g6. Okay. I'm not real keen. Those knights don't have a lot of places to go. We can go back around again if you want. Back to f8 and do this nonsense again. A lot of tempo is being lost. I do want to mention we shouldn't be too critical maybe of some of these accurate moves. Remember, this is blitz. And I'll tell you the truth, their blitz game and their skill at blitz is a lot better than 95% of the players in the world, period. So let's get on these guys too much, for those of you that are wondering why they're playing so poorly. They're really not. It's blitz. Bishop c4. Finally goes bishop a6. Has to trade. Rook takes. All right. The crappy light square bishop for black is gone. It's... And look, there's a lot of pawns here. People realize or not, all the pawns are still on the board. We got 16 pawns, 4 knights, and 4 rooks. Not much room for these rooks to get around with all these pawns in the way. So we're going to see how this works out. How are they going to break out? Knight to d3 for white. Knight to e8, the computer suggests. Why, I don't know. Where's the knight going to go? h5. I kind of like that. It forces some movement. h4. The knight to h7. Don't know where it would go. The computer likes that as well. Those knights there's nowhere for them to go. All the key squares are being covered. Here and here. 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 All being covered by white pawns. All these spaces. Where's these knights going to go? How are they going to get in? Knight to h7. King comes up. No point in castling. In a closed position without queens on the board. Knight comes over. He's going to reroute that knight again. f4. Gary goes for it. He's trying to open things up. Rook to e8. If pawn had taken, g takes, rook e8. And I like white's position a lot. This knight could always jump in here, hitting his pawn. You're gonna have to waste a piece to babysit the pawn. After rook to e8, rook comes over. After the take, the e pawn's going to be unguarded. That's a good move. And this is where I think Nigel stumbles under time pressure. And I don't think it was that bad of a move, actually. The computer likes knight to h7 again. Just put it back. Probably going to go the route to f6 and hit the e-pawn again. It's not much black can do. He's pretty tied up. But he decides to go f6. And the computer jumps to over a 2-point advantage now for white. I don't see where that's the end of the world, but f5. Knight has to go back down. Look at this. This knight can come here, but he's got nowhere to go. Yeah, back to here, then back to here. You want to waste all those tempos? Rook over, knight to f7, rook f3, knight h6. Here he goes. Knight f2, blocking the knight out. The only square he has is worth anything. Rook to a7. White has just got black pinned against the wall. Knight to b6. Here comes the knight. King to f7. I don't know why he would bother. Rook to a1. Obviously he wants to go a3. Pawn up. King to e3, king to d3. The computer likes. Gary decides on king to d3. King goes to g7. a3 for white. Slowly prying the door open. Rook to b7. A takes. And a takes is the move the computer likes. Yeah, he can't defend the b4 pawn after black takes. Besides to play g takes first. Not good. E takes. If he had taken a takes instead, rook to a2, king to f7. Still bad for black, but not as bad. After g takes, e takes. Instead of taking back, he goes knight to g4. And now it's an almost 4-point advantage. Knight comes up. Here he comes. Pawn takes. King to c4. Remember, king's a powerful piece in the endgame. Rook. King takes. Rook takes, pawn takes, rook takes, king c4. Now he's down the exchange. Rook to b5, b4. Running out of spaces for that rook. Rook trying to get some open space. Rook to d3, just shutting him right off. Rook takes, king takes, knight to h6. Rook f1, and Gary's just slowly turning the screws. Knight goes back. We're also going to go back and forth, and king to c5. And that's it. What's to stop this king? Or even pushing here, when pawn takes, king takes, this pawn's going to fall. He decides that's the end. To give you an idea, after knight to g4, rook to f3, even the rook can get behind there now. Black is doomed. And that's where Nigel Short resigns. Tough game. He was behind all the time in a really, really closed press against the wall position. So kudos to Gary. He still got his skills, even in blitz. So there you have it, folks. Round 7 of the Battle of the Legends played at the St. Louis Chess Club and Scholastic Center. I hope you enjoyed it. I want you all to remember, if you think chess is just a game, you're not playing it right. Take care, folks. Bye-bye.